Hey all, and welcome to Shadow of Space. And we've got another BCP video we're commenting on. This one is called German Chancellor begs for mercy as Trump moves to remove troops after Trump deranged rant backfires. This was uploaded May 4th. This is being recorded May 6th, and link is in the description.
The amazing thing is they use the Strait of Hormuz. We don't. We don't use it. We don't need it. We have a lot of oil. Well, wait a minute. Oh. And they use it. We don't.
Yep.
And you would have thought they would have said, we would love to help you. But they didn't, which I think was a very... And Germany, I mean, he's doing a terrible job. He's got immigration problems. He's got energy problems. He's got problems of all kinds. And he's got a big problem with Ukraine because they're in that mess. And he criticized me for doing the whole thing with Iran. But I said, would you like to have a nuclear weapon in the hands of Iran? He said, no, I don't. I said, well, then I guess I'm right. He didn't have any answer to that.
Why is the U.S. removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Now, in terms of this latest announcement, Project Freedom, the president says that this will aim to free up companies.
Meanwhile, Germany's
and
been
as
saying
we'll
what I've
discuss
been saying the
later,
whole time.
we are an energy superpower.
See,
third largest
it's
oil
not that they don't see. It's not that they don't have a plan. They don't have an objective. They have plans. Blowing up their military, blowing up nuclear facilities, blowing up their leadership. They have plans. What is the objective? What is the goal? What are we trying to do? Are we just trying to destabilize the region? Like, that's what we did in Venezuela. That's what we're doing in Cuba. Is that the plan? Is that what we're trying to do?
Natural gas, largest hydro renewable base. We're committed to addressing climate change while providing reliable, affordable energy to our citizens and partners. In closing, we're here because of your invitation. Again, thank you for that. But we're here because of the moral and security imperatives of our cooperation in the Caucasus, in the Baltics, in Ukraine, across Europe, and also because of the immense potential for our partnerships to build a better, more prosperous, sustainable, and just world for our citizens. And I'll close with this. It's my strong personal view that as the international order will be rebuilt, but it will be rebuilt out of Europe. And so I'm very appreciative of
Boy. So
Right.
we got to follow up on our coverage of the Iran conflict and NATO. The fact is that NATO has not been very helpful when it comes to this conflict with Iran.
They didn't know what was
proved themselves
happening.
to be a paper tiger. They're not very useful to us at all. Okay, and they're starting to get really.
I mean, obviously not. Otherwise, Ukraine would have been resolved by now, and we wouldn't have had to deal with it. We wouldn't be having to deal with it right now.
About having meetings where they may or may not do something to secure their own oil shipping routes out in the Strait of Hormuz, which currently Iran claims to have control over, despite the fact that their ships can't really leave due to the U.S. blockade. Despite all this, President Trump is still working on an operation to...
I mean, I wouldn't want to try to drive a boat through that strait. There's mines in there, and they don't even know where they'd put them, supposedly.
To guide ships through the strait that have nothing to do with the conflict.
Meanwhile, to Operation Epic Fury, right now, U.S. forces are expected to be helping ships trapped in the Strait of Hormuz. It's called Project Freedom. It comes after a second UK ship is reporting they were attacked in the critical waterway.
Brian Yennis joins us live from Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Brian.
Hey, good morning. Well, Project Freedom launched this morning. The president calls it a humanitarian effort to safely guide some 800 cargo ships and tankers and their 20,000 crew members safely out of the Strait of Hormuz. The president says these stranded ships are running out of food and supplies and are merely neutral bystanders in this whole thing. In a very lengthy Truth Social post, President Trump went on to say, for the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we've told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. The ship movement is merely meant to free up people, companies, and countries that have done absolutely nothing wrong. They are victims of circumstance. This is a humanitarian gesture on behalf of the U.S., Middle Eastern countries, but in particular, the country of Iran. The president warned Iran that any interference with this humanitarian mission will be, quote, dealt with forcefully. CENTCOM says guided missile destroyers, over 100 land and sea-based aircraft, and 15,000 service members are supporting this mission. Project Freedom is described as a coordination and information sharing effort to help guide these ships safely through the Strait of Hormuz. The Wall Street Journal reports U.S. Navy ships will not be escorting ships through the strait. The head of Iran's parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee is, quote, warning any American interference in the new maritime regime of the Strait of Hormuz will be considered a violation of the ceasefire. The Strait of Hormuz and the Persian Gulf would not be managed by Trump's delusional posts. No one would believe blame game scenarios. The UK military says the U.S. has now established an enhanced security area for ships via Oman's territorial waters south of where traffic usually transits in the Strait of Hormuz. The UK warns that the security level, though, remains critical in the strait. Yesterday, an oil tanker was attacked, hit by unknown projectiles north of the UAE. And just before that, a cargo ship was attacked by multiple small boats near the coast of Iran. All crews are safe. Meanwhile, in a sign diplomatic negotiations may be heading in the right direction with Iran, the U.S. returned a seized Iranian container ship, the Tuska, back to Iran. Its 22 crew members are in Pakistan. They're being flown to Iran today. Pakistan, which has been mediating the negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, calls this a confidence-building measure amid these negotiations. And perhaps in another good sign, guys, President Trump last night at the White House was asked by reporters and shouted questions, how are negotiations going? He had 2 words, quote, very well.
Yeah, so despite all this,
that's usually what he says.
That we're going out our way to help out the Europeans, right? To help out NATO, to help out our so-called allies with this.
See, I don't like the way that that's framed, because if we hadn't blown up their supreme leader with Israel, they wouldn't have blocked the strait and this wouldn't be happening. We can't cause something that causes this level of disruption, then throw our hands up in the air and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with this. You need to step up and deal with this now. Why? They wouldn't have even had to have been doing anything if we hadn't blown up their leadership.
Like, situation that they can't even help themselves on, right? They're slow.
No, because they shouldn't have needed help, because none of this should even be happening.
Okay, you have these people who are openly shit-talking the president and the current operation in Iran. Okay, like, for example, the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, who came out and basically claimed that the United States was being humiliated by Iran. Now,
ich erkenne im Augenblick nicht, welche
At the moment, I can't tell what strategic exit the Americans are pursuing, which is basically, I don't know what the end goal is. I don't know how the Americans know that they've won the war in Iran, especially since the Iranians are oblivious, probably to the peace deals.
Sehr geschickt verhandeln. Oder eben sehr geschickt nicht
or perhaps very skillfully refusing to negotiate and letting the Americans travel to Islamabad, only to send them back home empty-handed. An entire nation is being humiliated by the Iranian leadership, especially by the so-called Revolutionary Guards.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Now, where you have so-called allies like Germany, Spain, France, the UK, etc., right? Who needs enemies, right? Because I'm not sure how these people are allies, right? I mean, seriously. These people are currently under...
I don't know what you expected them to do when you didn't include any of them in any of the plans before you actually coordinated the strike.
Undermining the President of the United States. right? You have NATO.
You're expecting them to scramble and hop to when they had no idea this was coming.
Undermining the president because they don't want to secure their own oil shipping lanes. The only reason
they shouldn't have to. It wasn't a problem until 6 months ago, and then it turned into a problem through absolutely no fault of their own.
Care about the Strait of Hormuz is because it affects the global price of oil. That's the only reason we care. If it did not affect the global price of oil and it was just the Europeans getting choked out,
then why did we do it? If we knew that this was going to so radically alter the price of oil, then why bother?
Right?
Why not try to find some other solution to the problem?
Give a damn, right? Let's keep it 100. So,
I mean, if that's true, then we wouldn't be sitting here complaining about how they aren't helping right now.
It's just crazy to me because he is criticizing the president for quote unquote being embarrassed during negotiations. But the reality is that the president would have a lot more leverage if the
Well, arguably, he isn't even talking with the new supreme leader. I don't know who he's talking to.
If NATO
Iranian,
actually was
the actual
right?
government, I guess.
When it comes to securing their own oil shipping lanes, then we will have a whole lot more leverage over Iran. In fact, the conflict will be over. Right? Let's be real. Okay?
How would we have leverage over Iran if all of these other countries solved the problem themselves?
Hey, let's be real. But since we have to do it, and the only reason we're doing it is because it affects the global price of oil.
No, the only reason that we're doing it is because we started it in the first place, and we're responsible.
We don't need oil from the Strait of Hormuz. We don't need that natural gas.
Like if we hadn't blown up their supreme leader, would this still be happening? Would this even be happening?
Yeah, that right. The Europeans need it. Our so-called Asian allies need it, but we don't need it. The only reason it matters to us is because it affects global prices. That's it. That's the only reason it matters to us. And we're currently trying to negotiate with this country in order to make the conflict end in a way that these people are not going to boohoo, whine, and cry about. Because let's be real, it's Dan.
Okay, well, why didn't you do that before you blew up their supreme leader? Why didn't you talk with the old supreme leader and try to negotiate with them instead of just blowing them up?
If you do, Dan, if you don't. If the president folds...
No, it's called knowing what you want the outcome to be and then working towards the outcome.
To Iran, they're going to criticize him for folding. If he escalates and he does what I think he honestly should do, which is to go ahead and destroy all of their military infrastructure, okay, bridges, roads,
They already said they have. If you listen to them, there shouldn't be anything left. And yet somehow they're continuing to capture ships in the strait. And they're continuing to do these military ops. I don't know how when they say that they've destroyed 90% of their military capability. Well, clearly that 10% that's left is able to do enough damage that they still make it difficult to travel through the strait.
Karg Island.
It doesn't matter.
Get the nukes ourselves. Yeah, let's just go ahead and just take them out all the way, right? And we was to do that.
See that is that the plan? How do you know that isn't the plan? Tell me right now that that is not the objective is to destroy their entire military. Prove it to me right now.
Be crying about that too. So it's really damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No, it's tell us what you're actually going to do.
These people
it's be honest. It's be transparent.
They're going to criticize regardless of what the president does instead of supporting. And if these people actually support it, whether it be NATO, whether it be the liberal media, whether it be the Democrats, if they weren't actively undermining the president, the conflict would be over, right?
There's nothing to undermine.
Iran will have a lot less leverage. Iran's biggest piece of leverage is the liberal media in the United States, the Democrat Party, and NATO.
Iran's biggest piece of leverage is to keep the strait closed. Iran's biggest piece of leverage is not having any end goal for the Americans and just continuing to hold out.
The Europeans, the weakness of individuals like this guy, right? That's their biggest piece of leverage right now. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Yeah, because they need the oil that we decided to blow them up and disrupt all of these oil prices for.
Because if these people weren't actively rooting against the president, then, again, Trump would have the ability to do what he needs to do in order to get the conflict over with.
But then you say that he already has everything that he needs. But then you say that he doesn't because there are things that the other countries need to provide because they're better at it.
And then on top of that, it's only been, 8 to 10 weeks? It hasn't been that long.
So what? We shouldn't have done it in the first place.
These people are, pretending like this war has been going on for 10 years now, right?
It has. Because arguably it started under Obama and even before Obama, and it still isn't resolved. And we're just jumping right back into it.
It's like, well, it's only been 8 to 10 weeks, and we're already at a ceasefire, and they're currently negotiating.
All this is just cope.
I wish that negotiations would go faster.
Yeah, if they had done that, then the first supreme leader wouldn't have had to have been blown up.
I wish that negotiations would go ahead and be over with, but ultimately, at the end of the day, that's not how this stuff works. That's not how it works at all.
Why?
But these people are not helping, right? They're certainly not helping while they're criticizing. And that's my biggest issue with these people. So President Trump has responded to...
Well, again, they haven't been asked to, they aren't expected to, and they weren't told that it was happening beforehand in order to be prepared in case something like this happened.
The German Chancellor and his...
Think of how many of their militaries are either defunct or basically disbanded to the point where they don't really have them. Not only do they have to train people, but they have to even build the infrastructure to be able to go defend the strait in the first place.
Ridiculous criticism, right? And now this guy is backtracking, right? He's backtracking on his comments that he made because President Trump threatened to withdraw U.S. troops from Germany. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
The German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, has desperately backflipped on his criticism of US President Donald Trump after he threatened to remove thousands of US troops from Germany. Merz posted on X, "The Americans are and remain the important partner for Germany in the North Atlantic Alliance. We have a common goal. Iran must not obtain
May 4, 2026, 6:42 a.m.
nuclear weapons." He then doubled down, saying Germany will not stop working with the US.
And quote, "I'm not giving up on working with the transatlantic relationship, nor am I giving up on working with Donald Trump."
This was a starkly different message.
Well, to me, this is just playing both sides.
From the one that went viral a few days ago, where Merz claimed that the US was humiliated by Iran.
Ich erkenne im Augenblick nicht, welchen strategischen Exit die Amerikaner jetzt wählen, zumal die Iraner offensichtlich sehr geschickt verhandeln oder eben sehr geschickt nicht verhandeln und die Amerikaner dann nach Islamabad reisen lassen und ohne Ergebnis wieder abreisen lassen. Da wird eine ganze Nation gedemütigt durch die iranische Staatsführung.
See, and again, my question is, why would us removing our troops matter if you had the military capability to protect your own borders? Like, what does having our military do?
Vor allem durch diese sogenannten Revolutionsgarden.
And in true Trump style, the US president was not taking the criticism lying down. He responded by threatening to pull thousands of troops from Germany.
Why is the US removing troops from Germany?
We're going to cut way down, and we're cutting a lot further than 5,000.
And it seems
Did not
Trump
say
is
why.
not only angry with Germany, but also with Italy and Spain, threatening to pull troops from those nations also.
Would you be considering the same thing for Spain and Italy? I mean, they haven't been exactly on board.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I probably will. Why should I? Look, why shouldn't I? Italy has not been of any help to us. And
They didn't know what was
Spain has
happening.
been horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's NATO. It's not even the fact that they're bad. It's one thing if they said nicely, or if they said, okay, we'll help, but the help's a little slow. But the level, and we helped them with Ukraine. You know, they made a mess out of Ukraine, a total mess. And we helped them with Ukraine. Ukraine has nothing to do, you know, we're an ocean apart. It has to do with them. It's like for them, it's their front door. We help them.
So is the Strait of Hormuz. And yet, here we are. So is the supreme leader. And yet we use our military to help blow him up. Why? They're an ocean away. They're all the way across on the other side of the world.
And Biden gave him $350 billion, which is insane. It's one of the reasons the war went on. But when we needed them, they were not there. We have to remember that.
Yeah, again, you know, I think the president's spot on. We showed up to help them with Ukraine. Ukraine is not a NATO country. We have nothing to do with Ukraine. They're not an ally of us. But we showed up and we helped them out. We gave them billions of dollars in weapons. Okay?
Yeah, but we did not start that conflict, nor did we have troops on the ground in that conflict.
That without us, that country would be taken over by Russia, right? And the only reason we did it is because NATO begged us. They begged us to get involved. They said, listen, if Putin takes Ukraine, then he's going to take all of NATO. He's going to attack us too, right? And we showed up. We showed up. Now when it comes to Iran and we say, hey, we just need you to play a support role, right? We just need you to go in here and to do some minesweeping to secure the strait.
Boy, do you know how great it would have been if they had gotten a call from Donald Trump 12 months ago and been like, hey, we're thinking about doing this strike in Iran. 12 months is probably a little too far out. 6 months? 6 months ago? Been like, hey, NATO, you know, that Iranian supreme leader is being a real dick. So we're thinking about blowing him up, but it's possible that they're gonna close the Strait of Hormuz. So you might want to get minesweepers or some sort of like general military capability up or naval capability up so that you can help us in case things go south with this strike. That didn't happen.
Yourself.
I don't know what you expect them to do. I don't know what you think is going to happen. How many There was in the story about the Falkland Islands, there was the one guy. He's like, England doesn't even have a navy to even patrol its own ports. Do you know if they even have minesweeping ships that are in service that they could even send to help? Do they have crews that could actually work those ships that would actually be able to sweep for the mines? You don't include them in the plans. You now expect them to be able to just do all these things, and now you're going to punish them for not acting fast enough in a conflict that they didn't even know was happening. This is psychotic. This is absolutely insane.
Well, we might do it, and also on top of that, we're gonna disrespect you as well too, right?
This has no coordination. This has next to no planning and has absolutely no objective or any measurable understanding of how we will know if we achieve the outcome.
They're the ones that really need the strait to be open. They're the ones that are suffering, okay?
Then maybe they're the ones who should have blown up their supreme leader and made them close the strait in the first place. Maybe they should have done it instead of us.
Who knows how long they're going to have jet fuel?
Yeah, who knows how long this conflict is going to last? Who knows how long they're going to have to actually deal with this blockade now?
Right? I'm just saying, they're the ones that really need the strait to be open. And despite all the disrespect, the president is still going out of his way to use military assets to try his best to open up the strait, right? To help
But that doesn't matter if they don't have the minesweepers, and they needed the British minesweepers to sweep for the mines. It is completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter. If we needed them because we thought that they were going to mine the strait, then we should have asked them before we started to attack them, hey, if you have any minesweeping ships, you should get them in working order because we might need them. No, you can't start the conflict, have them drop the mines, and then come to them when they aren't prepared at all for anything that we're actually doing in the area and say, you need to help us now. You need to give us these things. Excuse you.
Commercial vessels transit the strait. Even though they're not ours, right? But like the president's saying, it's a humanitarian.
But we took our foot and we jammed it straight into the pile of shit. And now we've got all this shit on our foot and we're like, you should clean this up. Why?
But that's
maybe you should step in shit less often and you won't have to worry about other people cleaning up the shit on your foot.
Expect of us at this point. Right? They expect us to do all the dirty work and then they want to shit talk us while expecting us to do the dirty
the dirty work that none of them asked you to do. No one asked you to blow up. They asked you to blow up their nuclear capabilities. They didn't ask you to blow up their supreme leader. Who the fuck's idea was that?
work. And that's what I don't like about this. And the problem is that we could get away with abandoning them.
Well, you only don't like it because you've done it now and you have to take responsibility for it. Take responsibility for it. You asked no one for help with this. You asked no one for help. You went complete dark on all info with any other countries. And now that they have had no time to prepare, that they had no idea what was happening, and now that they are directly involved, you sit here and expect them to be able to just bend over backwards.
When saying screw you, right? We're just pulling out, period, right? We're just not going to help you at all. We could get away with it if it wasn't for the liberal media and Democrat Party, right? Let's be real. If it wasn't,
why? What are they doing? We're doing things in the Middle East. We haven't pulled out yet. What is the plan? What is the next objective? What is the next phase of the operation?
For the liberal media, the Democrat Party,
other than just, well, we're just gonna forever guide the ships through the strait because we have no idea where the mines are. Like, that's not a plan.
We could really, really, really show the Europeans, right? We could.
No, not while we're fighting Iran and Ukraine and trying to solve Ukraine and Cuba is like, no. There are like 5 different global conflicts that we as a country are currently fighting right now. Like, no, you can't spread yourself that thin and say, we could take all of you at once. That's so arrogant.
The reality is that, again, because we have our media and the Democrats undermining the president, it's tough to deal with.
But, you know, I mean, arguably, this is the exact same sort of rhetoric of, or probably the exact same sort of rhetoric of all of the other societies that fell. Well, our military capabilities and our technology is obviously better than everyone else's, so we could take on the whole world by ourselves.
People, it's a lot tougher to deal with these people than it should be. But
not when you're already threatening civil war at home. You're already overrun by criminals and potential gang members. Like, no.
Latest threat here to pull out U.S. troops from Germany would not only be a huge blow to NATO, but also to the economy of Germany as well, too. You got to understand, we have 35,000 troops stationed in Germany, right? One of our largest deployments overseas. Germany has historically spent below the 2% that they're required to spend for NATO defense. So basically, we've been their defense. They've been relying on us, just like all the other countries, okay? And if we were to withdraw, then they would lose billions of dollars.
Yeah, but they also had, it's also Germany, and they also had World War II. which pretty well got rid of that,
right?
I
Their
believe.
local businesses would suffer a lot because of it. They also would have less defense. They would be more vulnerable, okay? As a country, they would have to step up and spend some money, less money on socialism and more on defense, right? The only reason the Europeans can afford their socialism, and it's really not affordable, to be honest with you, it's really not, because these countries are in massive amounts of debt, just like we are. They can't afford their socialism. But the only reason they got it right now is because they rely on us for their military, right? So they pay less. They pay less. And that's also part of the reason why if they did decide to help us with the conflict with Iran, there's not that much they can do because they don't have a real military.
Then what do you expect? Then what do you expect them to do? Literally what I just said. They aren't prepared to deal with this. If they had had 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to get even small groups, platoons, ready in case something happened, there was just nothing. And now you expect them to have fully funded militaries on standby to help secure the strait. I don't know why you would think that.
Help us out with, which again, sweeping mines, right? Securing the Strait of Hormuz, they're slow walking it, and then they're shit talking at the same time. And
I mean, like,
that's what.
How long was it that all of the other countries had pulled out of the Middle East except us? Like, they haven't actually had to use their military, or they haven't used their military for anything in years. Potentially, at this point, in decades. Like...
But again, it's so annoying to me about these.
I guess not,
right?
decades. Well, see, because it wasn't when we pulled out, it was when they pulled out.
8 to 10 weeks. You're not going to know the end result.
Which I believe was during Obama.
End, right? Until it's actually over. Until there's some type of agreement, or we just end up obliterating them to the point where they unconditionally surrender.
Well, why not just go with Plan B? See, like, you act like there are two options here. What is the actual plan? Hold on.
Like, the conflict has only been going on for 8 to 10 weeks. You're not going to know the end result until the end, right? Until it's actually over. Until there's some type of agreement, or we just end up obliterating them to the point where they unconditionally surrender.
Why not just go with Plan B? Why not just obliterate them until they surrender? Why sit here and play these games of, well, like Maduro. We didn't negotiate with Maduro, we kidnapped him. We aren't negotiating with Cuba. There's an oil embargo. Why not just blow them up? Like,
that could also happen.
See, it's soft power. It's not directly sending in the military. It's not blowing up their infrastructure and killing a whole bunch of people. But it's still destabilizing. Just because it isn't troops on the ground, like years-long military campaigns, doesn't mean that it isn't bad. Doesn't mean that it isn't still the wrong way to go about it. It's still power dynamics. You don't get out of that system. You just gain the system differently. It still disenfranchises people.
And
it doesn't matter.
Honestly, I mean, I wish we could do that, right? But it's just the domestic pressure on us to not do that is the reason why we're not doing it, right? That's literally the only reason we're not doing it.
No. It's the fact that people don't understand what we're doing in the region.
It's because of domestic pressure. Because we have people literally...
I mean, like...
...the president.
You're right. Because if he had asked for permission from the American people before he had done this, they would have said no. But again, now that you've done it, you have to double down and say, well, obviously it was a good thing. Obviously we had to do it. Because you have to justify the fact that we've done it now.
a PR perspective, and Iran knows this. They take advantage of this. That's why these people come out here and they literally repeat everything that the Iranians say.
So, David, speaking of reporting, I'm going to let you sort through this one for all of us. Barack Ravid, of course, with Axios, is saying that a senior U.S. official denied that a U.S. ship has been hit by Iranian missiles. It is obviously
Well, there was that, wasn't there that airplane that went down? And there was that pilot that got stranded? Granted, we rescued him, but they are fighting back. The idea that we aren't losing troops in this conflict, or that we aren't taking casualties or losing military infrastructure, isn't true. We are. This isn't like Venezuela, where we went in and we captured Maduro with no casualties.
The early moments of this, so I certainly am not placing any sort of moral equivalency between government of Iran and the U.S. government. I will simply say we have 2 eyewitnesses saying that the ships were in fact hit, according to Al Jazeera. And we have 1 senior official right now on back.
I'm not going to be as ridiculous as to say that one ship getting attacked is us losing the conflict. But I will say that it does give the conflict a severity that it otherwise wouldn't have, or that would otherwise be lessened.
Telling Axios that no U.S. ship was hit. So hard to say. And we will need to wait at least a few hours before we get actionable information out of that area. But your thoughts on a U.S. official
actionable information? What are you going to do about a ship halfway across the world getting hit?
To Axios and then other news agencies saying that, in fact, a ship has been hit, according to 2 eyewitnesses.
Armed forces, especially the aggressive U.S. Army, will be attacked if they intend to approach and enter the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM this morning denied an Iranian state media report claiming that Iran hit a U.S. warship.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps hit a U.S. warship with 2 missiles. No U.S. Navy ships have been struck. Are supporting Project Freedom and enforcing the naval blockade on
attempting to
Iranian
pass
ports.
through the strait. CENTCOM says, quote, no U.S. Navy ships have been struck.
Even though the Iranians clearly are playing the media. They're playing our domestic media. They're playing the liberals. They're playing the far left.
Don't just say it. Show us a picture. Show us the ship that supposedly they struck and show us it being fine.
They're playing the Democrats. Clearly that's what's happening, but these people repeat the talking points from Iran because they know that it undermines the president. You got to understand, we have people that are literally undermining the U.S., undermining...
Yeah, well, you can't be undermined if people know what's going on. You can only be undermined if people don't understand, if people don't know what's going on, and you tell them, hey, what they're telling you is happening isn't what's happening. You can only believe the bullshit that you're being spoon-fed if you don't know the difference between what's real and what's bullshit.
The President of the United States, because they hate him so much. They'd rather see us lose than for President Trump to win. It's a damn shame.
How do we lose? What does losing look like? If we were to pull... We don't depend on the oil. If we were to pull out today, we wouldn't lose. Like, Europe would, because they depend on the oil. We wouldn't. What would we lose? What do we lose by pulling, if we were to take our entire military and just pull it out of the Strait of the Hormuz, what would happen? Would anything happen? Like,
his criticism to all of NATO.
Would Iran then suddenly sprout this enormous navy and come after us? Like, what would actually happen?
Calling them a paper tiger.
Got no help, 0 from NATO. You know, we spent trillions of dollars on NATO. We got no help.
They didn't know what was happening.
We didn't need it, but we got none. I said...
Then why is it a problem that they aren't helping?
Would you like to come? Yeah, you're fired. He said, fire him. No, they know they got problems. No, it was a
They do now.
paper tiger.
Online commentators agreed with the president, with this person saying, NATO has done nothing in the past 2 months to warrant any trust by the US.
We haven't done anything for them in the past 2 months that would warrant them being ready for such an assault.
Have tried to thwart all efforts of the US military against the actions we imposed in Iran. They are useless, and US needs to either warn our supposed allies if this is the way NATO treats our relationship, we can do without. They need us more than we need them. President Trump's decision to possibly remove 5,000 troops from Germany is a step in the right direction.
Why? Are they gonna go help in Iran? How does removing troops from Germany a step in the right direction?
And now some of the other NATO countries that refused bases or airspace should be dealt the same consequences. And whilst Trump is bickering with Europe, he has much bigger fish to fry with Iran, revealing he rejected a 14-point plan sent over by the Iranian leadership, and once again confirming there will be no agreement until nuclear weapons are off the table.
They told me about the concept of the deal.
U.S. President Donald Trump said he had yet to review the exact wording of a new Iranian peace proposal, but that he was unlikely to accept it. The reason, Trump said in a weekend social media post, was that Iran had, quote,
Yeah. I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent to us. What is this? Oh, can't see. It's okay. Sent to us, but can't imagine that it would be acceptable, and that they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the past 47 years. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President DJT. What is this? What have they done to humanity and the world? Is like, what is the objective? Just
not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity and the world over the last 47 years. Trump's post came after he
then sue them or bring them to some sort of like court-martial via the UN and hold them accountable. Don't just kill them.
Used about the possibility of restarting airstrikes on Iran.
If they misbehave, if they do something bad, but right now, we'll see. But you know, it's a possibility that could happen, sir.
That is a possibility that it could happen. Do you have a plan for that contingency if it happens?
They're letting the blockade, the economic pressure, do most of the work at this point, right? Because again, if we continue our military operation, the markets are going to tank, the liberal media is going to cry, Democrats are going to cry, the Europeans are going to cry, right? There's going to be a lot of people cry, which is why it's hard to do what we need to do to finish.
We'll see. But again, why? Why continue to play the long game? What does that do?
People off, right? I'm serious, right? Like, I mean, do people understand what we're dealing with here, right? And we weren't dealing with a treasonous media and NATO and a political party that, again, is just completely anti-Trump. Yeah, I mean, this would be over. Iran would have surrendered by now, right? But anyways.
Why?
You have
If we had been engaging in diplomatic talks with them the whole time, then none of this would even be happening.
German Chancellor, he's now begging for mercy, right? He's backtracking after President Trump's threat. I think that Trump needs to follow through anyways. I think we should realign and reposition our troops. We should bring a lot of them home, to be honest with you. But I do think it makes sense to keep some of them, in certain places overseas, just in case. But we should definitely rethink the way that we support NATO, whether it be, again, having military bases, troops, weapons deals, et cetera, et cetera. We should definitely rethink these things because they're proving that they're just not very useful to us, right? And we're way more useful to them than they are to us. And, honestly, at some point, we have to follow through with some of these threats in order to change behavior, right?
See, but I mean, you can't say that we need their minesweepers and then say that they're completely useless.
Threats are not enough, right? Warnings are not enough. You actually need to follow through and to do some of this stuff to show them, hey, we're not playing around, right? This relationship should be mutually beneficial. It shouldn't be a one-sided relationship, which is what it is right now. It is we help them, and then they give us the middle finger when we request their assistance, right? When we ask them to do the bare minimum.
They aren't giving us, they don't have a military. They aren't giving us the middle finger. They're sitting there with their shoulders shrugged, with their arms up, being like, I have no idea what you even want me to do. Oh, they're being horrible. We don't need anything from them, but they're just being awful about it. They don't appreciate the fact that you disrupted their oil shipments for something that they don't even understand what's going on.
So, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share.
I think that until the Trump administration and the military apparatus, until they finally become transparent with what the objective is in the Middle East, they are going to continue to encounter resistance. As long as people continue to sit there and shrug and ask, what is the objective? What are we trying to do there? What is the point of us being over there? They're never going to win this. They're never going to be in a position where people are going to be accepting of it. And just saying, well, you're a horrible person because you're against us, doesn't do anything. That's a Democrat idea. That's the Democrat tactic, where they say, well, if you aren't with us 100%, then you're just a bigot piece of shit, and you can go over there and cry in a corner. Okay, well then you can't bitch at them when they go cry in a corner because they don't know what else to do about how they aren't doing enough. They weren't going to anyways. Like, it doesn't do anything. It's literally, you are literally acting like a Democrat. You are being exclusive. You are pushing them away and telling them, we don't need you, even though you do need them. Like, no.